Twilight Sparkle was on a date with her boyfriend, Mordecai.
So you ready to go?
He asks.
Yeah.
She says,
I mean, I guess we could stay here and play video games all day.
You're not going to be able to do that.
he complains.
We have to get out of this town. We'll never make it in time for the concert.
I think you're forgetting that we can teleport.
Says Twilight.
Yeah, but only short distances.
Says Ginny Wakeman.
We need to get at least another 10 over.
Maybe we should just teleport to the concert hall and avoid all this hassle.
Says Angel Dust.
Great idea, genius.
Says Ginny.
Let's do that. All right then.
Yeah.
Says Spike.
Let's go to the concert!
Everyone seems to have forgotten that they need to get out of this town. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're too selfish. In any case, the group starts to teleport, but something goes wrong.
What the fuck? My head!
Yells Spike.
I just felt my neck and fucking broke.
Says Mike.
We need a hospital.
Cries Twilight. The first thing they notice upon appearing is how vastly different this city is. It's northeastern from the town they just teleported from. It also looks to be much older as well. The streets are much narrower and many of them are cracked. The buildings themselves are made of stone rather than brick. There's no trace of the music park anywhere.
Where the fuck are we?
Asks Spike.
I dunno. We must have teleported into someone else's territory.
Says Twilight. The next thing they notice is how cold it is. This isn't just a colder version of the city they just left, this is actual cold. It's winter in this city and it's getting dark, which means there's no illumination except for the moon and the stars.
Oh dear God! Is this a shadow?
Says Spike.
I feel awful.
No, that's just the cold.
Says Mike.
I don't think there's any shadows around.
Let's just find a fucking hotel and get some sleep.
Angel Dust suggests.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Agrees Spike. The group decides to find a hotel and just crash on the first floor for the night. As they're all exhausted, Mordecai heads towards a nearby building.
I'll be right back.
He says.
I just have to go across the street and get some booze.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yells Angel Dust.
You're going to get drunk in the middle of the fucking night in between a shadow city and a cold winter's night.
I'm not planning on getting drunk.
He says.
I just need to get some bottles. I'll be right back.
Being the gentleman he is, Spike volunteers to go with him and go get the booze.
I'll go with you.
Says Mike.
It's too much of a risk for that little dick of yours.
Fuck you, Mikey.
He replies. As Mordecai, Spike, and Mike leave, Twilight approaches Angel Dust.
Yeah, you're the one who knew about this place, right? Do you live here?
Yeah, I live here.
He says.
This used to be a sort of student village a long time ago.
Twilight nods.
I see. Do you know when this city went to shit?
Dunno, before my time, I guess. Is there a reason why you were asking about us?
Yeah. We're just wandering around and looking at the architecture.
Architecture? You're not with the carpenters, are you?
Says a shadow.
What? No, we're not.
My name's Shadow.
Says the shadow.
What are you here? If not with the carpenters?
We're just some people.
Says Twilight.
You look more like some people who want to ask questions that important people.
Says Shadow.
I'd advise against it.
Do you know where we can find the owner of this place?
Asks Ginny.
We're supposed to meet someone here.
The owner left this city a long time ago.
Says Shadow.
He was a strange guy. The last time I saw him, I don't think he was even born yet.
How do you know?
Asks Ginny.
Have you met him?
I'm not talking about it.
Says Shadow.
We have to know.
Says Ginny.
We're going to leave soon. We need to know where to go.
Shadow looks around and sighs.
Fine, but I'm telling you, it's a long story.
We have time.
Says Angel Dust. Shadow looks at his hands for a moment before beginning to talk.
Do you know who Mr. Dream is?
He asks.
No. Well, Mr. Dream was the owner of this place.
We don't know any Mr. Dream.
Says Twilight.
Now, it's a long story.
Says Shadow. Shadow begins to tell them how he used to live in the city of Nightfall with his wife and 2 children. One day, Mr. Dream arrived in Nightfall and started making deals with the mayor. Shadow was a poor city mouse who was on good terms with the mayor, and so Mr. Dream hired him to make some furniture for his castle. Shadow was really happy about getting paid, but the mayor had to lay off hundreds of other workers as he cut back on costs. The mayor knew Shadow's family were hungry, so he gave him a deal. He could have work, and his family would be taken care of, as long as he dealt with the undesirables that Mr. Dream didn't want to deal with. So he became a problem solver, as the mayor put it. The citizens hated him for it, and he stopped getting work from Mr. Dream. He was too well known now. One day, he tried to deal with some thugs who had been bothering some girls at a local school. He killed them all, and the militia hunted him down. He tells them that, After his family died in a fire he caused while trying to warm his children, he eventually came to work for Mr. Cervix.
Who's Mr. Cervix?
Ginny asks.
Never heard of him.
Says Angel Dust.
I thought so.
Says Shadow.
Don't ask him any questions, because he'll just get mad and raise your rate.
Why fire you?
Asks Twilight.
He's Mr. Cervix. He doesn't fire his employees.
Oh,
Says Twi.
so that's why those two are after you.
Says Ginny.
That's some pretty terrible life you've had, Shadow.
It's okay now.
He says.
I'm with Mr. Dream now. I'm better than ever.
How?
Asks Angel Dust.
By dealing with two idiots that are too stupid to even rob a store.
Hey,
He says Shadow.
I'm not fucking stupid. I was the best thief in all of Sakani. If in all I was this,
Yeah, but your family dead and all.
Says Angel Dust.
You really think that now you're some kind of super thief.
I don't need to be a super thief,
Says Shadow.
because I'm already the best.
Whatever.
I could steal the moon from Mr. Dream if he wanted me to.
Says Shadow, staring at the group.
You know that, right? I could do that and not even break a sweat.
Says Ginny.
Really? Why didn't you tell us? We could have worked with you.
You two are together.
Asks Shadow.
Together like a married couple.
I'm dating Hurricane.
Twilight says.
Well, that would be cool.
Says Shadow.
But Mr. Dream needs someone a little younger than me.
How young?
Asks Ginny.
18 would be perfect.
Says Shadow.
I don't need anyone much younger than that.
I don't think I'd suit Mr. Dream.
Says Ginny.
Anyway, that's great. But are you currently working for him?
Says Shadow.
I'm working with Mr. Dream right now. I'm trying to rob the bank in Nightfall.
The bank?
Asks Ginny.
Why?
Why not?
Asks Shadow.
It's a bank. You rob banks, don't you? I thought you detectives did.
We don't just go around robbing banks.
Says Ginny.
That's, well, it isn't legal. Anyway,
I thought you said you were a detective.
Asks Shadow.
I am.
Says Ginny.
But just because I investigate crimes doesn't mean I'll go running to the cops if I find a crime in progress. I do some intelligence gathering before I make a scene.
Undercover work. I understand.
Just because you're friends with the criminal element doesn't mean you have to act like one.
And says Ginny.
Robbing a bank isn't going to help you in the long run.
Well, I think Mr. Dream will provide better than your average run-of-the-mill bank.
Says Shadow.
Besides, the militia is such a pain in the ass that I figure this'll be a much easier robbery.
So, why do you need us?
Asks Ginny.
I don't.
Says Shadow.
Mr. Dream can handle things himself. I just need two people to perform a social act during the robbery.
What?
Asks Ginny.
You don't think we can score some boo and pillows and stuff for the getaway car?
No, that's not what I need you for.
Says Shadow.
I've already got a driver.
You have to pretend to be your hostages.
Says Angel Dust, staring intently at Shadow.
Why?
Asks Ginny.
Why would you need us to be your hostages?
So when the militia comes busting down your door, you will have an explanation for why two famous detectives are in your house.
Says Shadow.
Just say that we were kidnapped and you need the militia to help you rescue us.
This really isn't necessary.
Says Ginny.
We could be of more help to you in other ways.
I don't want to put you in any potential danger.
Says Shadow.
I really don't.
It's no trouble.
Says Angel Dust.
We're detectives, not ex-Hollywood hosts or something. We can handle being kidnapped.
Shadow nods.
Okay,
Shadow tosses Angel Dust a set of handcuffs.
put these on.
And he says,
You'll have to take care of our driver.
You wanted to cuff her.
Asks Ginny.
No,
Says Shadow.
he's a big boy. He can handle it if he tries to run. Just make sure he doesn't get away.
Ginny restraints Angel Dust. Says Angel Dust.
These are really uncomfortable.
You'll get used to them.
Says Shadow.
Just try not to struggle too much.
Shadow tosses a set of keys to Ginny.
Take our vehicle and go.
He says,
I'll deal with the driver.
What about me?
asks Angel Dust.
You're coming with me.
Says Shadow.
I'll release you when we get the money.
But I need to stay here.
Complains Angel Dust.
Someone needs to keep an eye on the place.
You really don't want to be released. Trust me.
Says Shadow.
Now, come on.
Shadow and Angel Dust leave in a hurry.
I guess we better follow them.
Says Ginny. Twilight follows Ginny to the crime scene, where she stays behind the police tape. She steps inside briefly before coming back out, carrying a bag of loot.
Hey, it wasn't locked.
She says,
So,
asks Ginny.
it still has the security tag on it.
Security tags can be easily removed.
Says Shadow.
That's how we're getting in and out of most banks these days. Would you rather go in the front door with a shotgun or flashlight and be caught by the alarm?
I suppose not.
Says Ginny.
Shadow, will we really get the money?
If they're anything like their dad, we will.
Says Shadow.
Although, I'm not as worried about that since I've got a hostage.
Great.
Says Ginny.
Now I guess we should go back to the hotel and figure out what to kidnap next.
Actually, I was thinking we should go to the palace.
Says Twilight.
Tell them everything.
You just want to get me arrested.
Laughs Shadow.
This is your big moment. You can tell them everything you want. I won't even be able to do anything about it.
No, it's not like you think.
Says Twilight.
I was thinking more along the lines of, we could all get arrested. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, and it would probably even help our case.
What, all of us?
Asks Ginny.
Why?
The more people who are arrested, the better.
Says Twilight.
But why would you get arrested?
Asks Shadow.
You're a pony. You don't even have to turn in your weapon or anything.
I've been following the news.
Says Twilight.
It's a new law. Any pony that is directly involved in a kidnapping will be sentenced to death.
Me.
Says Shadow.
Do what you want, I suppose.
No, you don't want to do what you want.
Says Ginny.
This is your big chance to get out of this life. You're not going to do that just by kidnapping people and getting arrested.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
Asks Shadow.
Go to jail. Stay in Ponyville and rot. I don't have that option.
Yes, you do.
Says Ginny.
You have the option to become a syndicate member.
What's so bad about being a pony?
He asks Shadow.
I thought you were a syndicate member.
I was,
Says Ginny.
but I got eliminated.
What does that mean?
Asks Shadow.
Do you want to get back in the gang?
Well, yeah,
Says Ginny.
but it's not that simple. There are a lot of other ponies there that aren't exactly the most stable.
What about that little filly you were looking after?
Asks Shadow.
She wouldn't be in the way, would she?
That's not it.
Says Ginny.
I just don't want you to get in any more trouble for me.
But it's not like I'd have to actually do anything.
Says Shadow.
I could just hang around and look intimidating and it would still be a great help to you. And I could keep my own head down. And I could eat it, but it might. It would. It to you to give in it and give
No,
Says Ginny.
I can't risk getting you involved in any more trouble. This is on you. I don't want to put you in danger either.
What?
Says Shadow.
No,
Says Ginny. The police begin to arrive at the scene.
That's them.
Says Shadow.
let's go.
Says Ginny.
Wait,
Says Shadow.
you're just going to leave me here?
Yes,
Says Ginny.
it's either that or get beaten up and possibly killed.
I can't let you leave like this.
Says Shadow.
I don't want to see you get hurt.
Ginny turns and puts her eyes onto Shadow. He stands up straight and looks into her eyes as well. They're both on edge.
Are you really sure about this?
Asks Shadow.
Yes,
Says Ginny. Shadow looks away and breathes deep. Then he looks into Ginny's eyes again.
I'm sorry.
He says. And with that, Shadow gallops away. Ginny doesn't do anything except stand there. Soon, the two of them are out of sight.
Well,
Angel Dust says.
I'm still handcuffed.
It's not your fault!
Says the police officer.
The kid made his own choices!
With that, Twilight, Ginny, and Angel Dust are taken into custody. To his surprise, Mordecai and Mike are there talking to the others.
There you are, Spiky. We're getting out of here.
wait, what? You're saying you will get us out of here?
Ginny asks.
Yeah, don't ask questions. Just glad to see you too.
The captain comes back and says that all of them are free to go.
What about that guy?
Spike asks, nodding to the flunky still sitting in a chair.
That's someone to take care of that.
The captain says, walking away.
What the hell did you do that for?
Spike asks in disbelief.
I did what I had to now. All of you.
The friends are stunned. Spike realizes the captain's trying to save his own ass by making them all disappear. But it hardly matters now. He thanks the captain anyway and the group leaves.
Well, that was a bit surprising.
Mike says.
You'll never believe what I saw.
Angel says.
You won't believe where I went.
Ginny says. Their babbling continues, but Spike has to ask.
So, how do you want to handle this?
What do you mean?
Our names are going to be clear thanks to that captain, but now everyone's going to be expecting us to return the favor. How do you want to handle that?
Mordecai looks at Spike.
What the hell, you think we are lots? We need to return the favor?
I see your point. Do we know who to ask for?
Mordecai looks at his fellow E supervillains.
Hey guys,
They look over.
do any of you owe that Shadow guy a favor?
They all shake their heads. Eventually one does.
Yeah? I guess I do. Stupid hoe.
Ginny says, walking over.
Stupid as if you want to know the truth.
Spike mutters. Ginny hands Shadow a small notebook. It contains the number of the person she owes the favor to.
Thanks, kid. See ya.
Shadow nods and leaves. Spike shakes his head.
What the hell's that all about?
Dunno, but let's get home.
You two are so fucked up.
Shadow complains.
Can't you see this is the safest way to do this?
Just follow us.
Spike says, laughing.
If this stuff's still the way we want, you better hope there are no police around when we make our big breakout. Shadow, I thought you just got out of prison.
Lisa asks as they walk through the alley.
I did.
Ginny says.
You think you were safe? Because nobody can see us here. That there are cameras all over this area. You think they'll just keep our parents in the basement to question some more?
I guarantee it.
Spike says.
Come on, bitch. Time to bleed.
Lisa looks at Spike. He's smiling and seems to be enjoying the night. Lisa draws a blade from her boot.
Shouldn't we split up?
She asks.
Just you, me, and Bart go into the police station. I'm not sure if running is going to help.
Bart says.
Maybe we should just go in as a team.
I'll tell you what.
Spike says, licking his lips.
How about you go in, stab one officer to death with your shift, and then go nuts on the rest of them with our new companion here.
Bart nods, smiling. Lisa nods.
You're the leader.
Lisa says.
I'll go with Bart.
Spike smiles, licking his lips. He slowly walks forward, stopping in front of the group. He holds out a hand and Lisa places hers in it. He pulls her to her feet, and the pair of them embrace.
See you soon, darling.
Spike says.
Maybe we can pick up where we left off.
Lisa smiles before turning and punching him in the face. He falls backward before getting back up.
You two sure you want to do this?
He asks, looking at Ginny and Shadow.
You both really want to be part of this family.
We're in.
Spike, Bart, Lisa, Ginny, and Shadow all stood around the empty Nightfall police station. They'd come in with their knives, but were shocked to find the building abandoned.
What the fuck, guys?
Shadow said.
It's like we're the only ones left in the world.
Where the hell is everyone?
Lisa asked, scratching her head nervously.
I'm sure they're fine. Something comes up, and they can't make it.
Shadow said.
We should split up. Try looking in different places.
Spike said.
I'll go into the basement.
I'll check the cells.
Lisa said.
I guess I'll check the shed.
Barty Boy said, walking into the house.
And I'll stick to the basement.
Spike said.
All right then.
Lisa said. Before he could follow through with his threat, the Nightmare King was knocked away by a black and red blur. He fell to the ground, stunned, as Shadow the Hedgehog landed between him and Spike. Clinging to his neck was Ginny Wakeman. The Nightmare King cried.
You killed my friends.
She screamed.
You'll never take me alive. You'll never get those elements of power.
Spike stumbled away from him, looking terrified. The Nightmare King grabbed Ginny's throat and lifted her into the air. His claws, sharp and long, were only a few inches from her face.
Let her go.
Shadow growled.
Never!
He roared in reply, and threw her against the wall. Ginny slid down the wall, and the Nightmare King turned to Spike.
I'll help you.
Spike said, grabbing a fire axe from a bundle of wood on one of the carts.
Good.
Shadow replied.
Let's get the hell out of here.
They walked to the fortress wall, where Spike stopped. He kneeled down and rested the axe against the ground.
This is where I lost my brother. He fell to the Nightmare King.
Yeah, I know the story.
Shadow said.
You do.
Spike asked, surprised.
And you're actually listening. You haven't abandoned me as a friend for the sake of revenge.
If I was going to do that, I'd have left long ago.
Huh. I see.
Shadow looked away from him and stared out towards the Nightmare King.
This has to be our last stand.
Shrek said, and the other E-supervillains agreed.
This doesn't work. There's no way in hell your horn is going to get that book before the Nightmare King does.
Shouldn't we be doing something to help Spike?
Rainbow asked.
Like what? He'd die for sure if we got involved.
What?
The Nightmare King shouted.
Are you so seriously thinking about not giving me the book? Do you not find my heroic efforts to save your miserable lives to be worthy? Do you find me to be some kind of monster?
No?
If not, you wouldn't be here. Come on, give me the book.
Fuck the book.
SpongeBob said.
We need to help Spike.
Yeah, let's go, guys.
Mordecai added.
Fine, you want to get involved. I'll make you a deal, and I'll give you the book. You don't. You'll kill this dragon.
What?
You heard me, man?
That's not a good deal.
Shadow said.
It's the best I can do.
The Nightmare King said, his eyes burning with an unholy glow.
We don't have time to dick around.
Spike said.
Let's go.
The group backed away from the Nightmare King, who cursed them under his breath. In the back of Fluttershy's mind, she heard a familiar voice whisper to her.
Go. Tershi. Just go.
With that, all of the voices of her friends ceased. She could clearly hear Alcina's voice now, though.
Now, you want to get that book. I can help you with that. It would be to your benefit. Yes?
Fluttershy couldn't move. She looked at all of her friends, who gave her encouraging looks.
Well, don't just stare at it. We're going to die here anyway. Let's get it over with.
Twilight shouted.
Please, just give me the book. I don't want to have to kill any of you.
I can't do that!
She said.
Not this time.
It's not my will. I wish to die honorably, rather than betray the trust of my friends.
Fine, if you're stupid dead, let's just go.
No, we're going to do this the fair and square way. I want a duel.
What?
I want a sword fight. You pick the place and time, and we'll have a duel to settle this fairly.
But?
No buts. You picked us up off the forest floor and into the sky. You've seen me use my abilities to save every pony else. It's only right that I repay the favor.
Well, I suppose that's all right. We don't have much time.
The Nightmare King said as he stepped forward and raised his hand.
Fine, you want a sword fight? Fine, I'll give you one, Albie.
Before the Nightmare King could complete his sentence, a long, lacerating cut appeared across his midsection, and he collapsed to the ground. The Nightmare King desperately grabbed at his wounded area, growling in anger.
It's not fair, I'm the Nightmare King.
Sorry.
Spike said as he raised his sword up. Spike didn't really want to hurt the Nightmare King, but the other alternative was just too terrifying. He didn't know why, but he was sure that Fluttershy knew.
Wait, Spike, don't...
Fluttershy shouted as she ran into the battle. She wasn't really supposed to be there, and Spike had no idea why she was, but he couldn't bear to look as she cut the Nightmare King down.
No, Fluttershy. No.
Spike shouted as he charged into the battle. He had no idea what exactly he'd do in the heat of battle, but he had to do something. A large, shadowy claw grabbed him, and he found himself staring down at the Nightmare King.
We'll do this the easy way. Here, give us the babies.
What?
Spike asked.
Give us the babies, or I kill your friend there.
What do you want with my friends?
Spike asked, struggling to get out of the Nightmare King's grasp.
I want them to be my slaves. Ponies seem to think they're immortal. We're not. If you leave them up, we'll make it quick.
Spike knew that the Nightmare King was referring to his dragon babies. As far as he knew, they were still in their dragon forms. If he gave up his babies, it would be like giving hostages.
The Nightmare King, huh? You think you're really smart, don't you?
Spike asked.
I am.
Yeah, well, you weren't smart enough.
Spike charged at the Nightmare King, knocking him down. The Nightmare King struggled under Spike, but he was ultimately unsuccessful.
Now, you will pay for taking my friends from me.
Spike said, kicking the Nightmare King in the face. The Nightmare King gargled for a moment before spitting blood at Spike. Spike recoiled for a moment before charging at the Nightmare King once more. The Nightmare King grabbed Spike by the neck, struggling to get back up.
Break!
He shouted. In that moment, the Nightmare King's top half fell down, revealing a metal structure around his chest. He resembled a medieval cage with a huge metal ball in the center. He was trapped by himself.
Let him go.
Spike turned to see Fluttershy standing there. She had used her magic to free the Nightmare King.
Fine, end your stupid trial.
The Nightmare King grunted. With that, the Nightmare King let Spike go and collapsed. Spike immediately ran to Fluttershy's side.
Are you okay?
He asked.
Yeah, I'm fine. You don't need to worry about me.
She said.
The Nightmare King can hurt anyone anymore.
Are you sure? You don't look fine.
Spike said.
I'm fine. Thank you.
She said, a faint blush coming to her cheek. Spike looked away, embarrassed. He helped Fluttershy pick up the Nightmare King's sword and placed it in her bag. Then he stood by her as she stashed the Nightmare King's body in a nearby treetop.
So, what's next?
Spike asked.
You all head back to Nightfall.
Fluttershy said.
Have to stay here.
You sure, Flutters?
I'll be fine. Go on home.
Spike looked a little worried, but he nodded.
All right. I'll see you later, Fluttershy.
Okay.
Spike turned, trotting off to his village. Fluttershy said farewell to the rest of her friends as they all headed their separate ways, leaving the monastery empty. Shadow and Ginny descended the mountain base of the Nightmare King, making their way back to Nightfall. It seems as though a new era of peace might follow now that the Nightmare King is no more.
You look pretty cool back there.
Ginny said as they entered the woods surrounding the city.
Thanks.
Shadow replied, apparently without the slightest bit of embarrassment.
Hey, Jenny.
A deep voice said behind them.
Who's that?
Shut up.
Hey, Jenny.
The deep voice said again, this time with a touch more force.
Oh, not again.
Ginny said, holding her hands over her ears.
Jenny, you are not even paying attention.
The deep voice said. Shadow could hear an obvious growling.
Hush up.
Shadow said.
She's not even paying that much attention as it is. Shut up.
The voice said, this time, apparently, with more force than before.
Okay. We've heard enough.
Shadow said. He grabbed Ginny's hand and pulled her down the hill.
Let's go. Hey, wait for me.
Shadow and Ginny ran out of the woods and down an eerily empty main street.
Where are all the people?
Ginny asked.
Sure.
The street was silent. Not a soul was in sight. The silence was eerie.
Is this some kind of nightmare?
Ginny asked.
Maybe.
Shadow replied.
We should keep moving.
Ginny nodded, and they continued down the empty street. Soon, they came to an old broken-down building. In front of it was a giant mass grave.
Oh, that are they?
Ginny asked.
Yes.
Shadow replied.
I think I'm going to be sick.
Ginny said. She grabbed the top of her shirt and hung her head, silently casting her complaint to the grave.
Come on.
Shadow said.
We've got to get out of here.
Ginny nodded, and together they ran across the field of graves and into the forest beyond. Ginny sat down on the ground and leaned her head against Shadow's thigh.
I'm just so tired.
Yeah.
Shadow said.
I'm just so hungry.
Ginny said.
Yeah.
Shadow said.
I'm just so cold.
Ginny said.
I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Shadow said. Ginny closed her eyes and fell fast asleep. Shadow gently pulled her into his arms and she lay still, wrapped in his cape and hood. Shadows and Ginny lay wrapped in their cloaks. The sun rose, and the birds chittered, and Shadows and Ginny slowly awakened.
Where are we?
Ginny asked.
In the nightmare realm.
Shadow replied.
What do you mean?
Just that. This is the nightmare realm.
How can it be?
Ginny said, sitting up and looking around.
This is a beautiful realm.
Beautiful nightmares, maybe.
Shadow said.
I don't know how else to explain it. No, how else?
What do we do now?
We go home.
Where's home?
The nightmare realm.
Oh,
Ginny said. It was another one of those awkward silences, and Shadow knew that Ginny was about to throw up.
The power of the nightmare realm is bleeding out.
Shadow said, trying to calm her nerves.
It's drawing in all the power of regular reality and twisting it into something darker. It's like a dark reflection of the real world.
how can that be?
Ginny asked.
I don't know. Maybe the same way dreams are made. All the power here is being siphoned through the nightmare realm. I only know what I've read in books.
So, it's true. This place really does exist.
Ginny said.
It exists enough to cause all this evil.
I don't like this place.
Ginny said.
I don't like it either.
Shadow said.
Can we get home?
Ginny asked.
I don't know how. I've never heard of anything like this before. All the nightmare realm really is pure darkness. The nightmare realm is a place of nightmares.
Oh,
Ginny said.
Look, we don't have to stay here. We can just go back the way we came. It's a long walk, but it's not like we're going to get lost.
no,
No.
Shadow said.
no. We can't go back. This is my nightmare. I'm not going to run away from it.
Jenny!
I'm not running away. If anything, I'm trying to wake up from this nightmare. I have to face my fears.
I understand, but
No,
Ginny said firmly.
fine.
Shadow said. Shadow wrapped his arms around Ginny and led her deeper into the nightmare realm. Shadow and Ginny walked in silence. Ginny was clearly upset, and Shadow tried to console her.
It'll be alright.
He said. A howl echoed throughout the sky, louder than before. Shadow and Ginny looked up. A black and white creature with red lips was floating above them.
Shadow.
The monster said.
Oblana,
Shadow said.
how can this be you?
It can't.
Oblina said.
This is a nightmare I don't know. Where you go when you dream you become the nightmare king.
Don't be foolish.
Shadow said.
I never took the oath.
Oblina floated closer to Shadow and Ginny. She looked at Ginny and said,
The nightmare king's spirit is within it. Why he's able to rule you. No, that's not true.
Ginny said.
Listen to me.
Shadow said.
You're Jenny. You're good. You're kind. You're strong. There's nothing for you here.
I'm not leaving.
Ginny said.
The nightmare realm is my nightmare, but it's also my home. I won't run away from it.
Jenny.
Shadow said.
You see how even the fragment of the nightmare realm soul can distort her.
Oblina asked.
She'll be nothing without the nightmare realm. Her soul is too powerful for her to sustain. Eventually, she'll be drawn back to the nightmare realm. Because it will be crucified to the nightmare realm. You're lying.
Ginny said.
Am I?
Oblina asked. Ginny looked at Shadow.
You were the one who said we should go back. You were going to leave with her.
I was.
Shadow said.
You were.
Ginny said.
We need to go back.
No. It's the only way.
Shadow said.
We can't go back, Kenny. We'll only end up like Dad. He went into the nightmare realm and never came out.
Jenny,
Oblina said.
you're the nightmare queen. You can end this suffering and this curse. You don't need to fear. No, I I'm not.
Ginny protested.
I'm just a happy little robot girl. I don't even have a soul to corrupt. I'm just wires and bolts.
You are so much more than that.
Shadow said.
You're a survivor and a leader. You can this.
No.
Ginny said.
I'm going to wake up. I'm going to wake up from this nightmare.
It's not a nightmare.
Shadow said.
When I dream, it's a nightmare.
Ginny said.
Not anymore.
Shadow said.
You're real. You're in my arms, safe and sound.
Ginny looked in Shadow's arms.
You were just a dream.
I'm not just a dream.
Shadow said.
I'm real. Jenny, I'm here.
Ginny began to cry.
I'm sorry.
Oblina moved to Ginny and said.
It's alright, dreams can be a little scary, that's all.
Ginny stood up.
I'm going to go back to my house. I'm going to try to wake up.
I'll go with you.
Shadow said.
No, you'll just get in the way.
Ginny said. Ginny walked off into the woods without Shadow. He sat down and looked at the forest. He had no home, no family, and no future. He was nothing.
Mr. Dream was right.
He sighed. Oblina patted him on the shoulder.
We'll get through this.
I hope so.
Shadow said.
I hope we get through everything.
We always do. I see what you were doing.
Ginny said, stepping out of the forest.
You were trying to make me feel sorry for you. Well, I won't let you.
Ginny marched up to him.
I'm not going to let you do anything.
Ginny grabbed him, lifted him up, and carried him in her arms.
You're a real noble Hedgie.
She said, walking off.
Let's go home.
Shadow looked up to the sky and said,
I guess this is goodbye.
Oblina touched his cheek.
Don't want to see you again.
I hope so.
Shadow waved and said,
Goodbye, Oblina. Lion.
Goody shit.
Oblina watched as Ginny walked away with Shadow and disappeared into the woods. She sighed.
Sometimes I don't know which one. Worry about one.
She watched as the trees swallowed Shadow and Ginny up. Oblina said,
Come on, let's go home.
She walked off into the forest. When they went back into the Nightmare Realm, the Nightmare King had already been defeated.
How you that?
The Nightmare King asked.
I brewed in a real live princess.
Shadow answered.
I was going to kill you anyway.
The Nightmare King said.
Could be.
Ginny said and blew him a kiss.
Good luck to you, too.
Shadow said. The Nightmare King looked up at the sky and said.
Suppose you were right.
He turned to Ginny and said.
I'll take you to my nightmare realm. It's going to be more interesting than the nightmare realm you left.
Ginny nodded. The Nightmare King picked her up and said.
Follow?
She walked with him across the Nightmare Realm. She was still holding on to Shadow's paw. She didn't know why. She only knew that she had to hold on to it, otherwise she was afraid she might float away. They reached the Black Castle. The Nightmare King opened the door and said,
This is my nightmare realm. You are now in the world of dreams.
The Nightmare King carried her into his room. It was a very dark and scary place. Ginny was starting to get scared.
This is closer you were getting to being a princess.
The Nightmare King said.
This is your nightmare realm.
Yes.
The Nightmare King answered.
This is where I rule. All the other worlds belong to me.
Then what is this the nightmare realm?
Ginny asked.
Because I'll better nightmare king than you think. Now get to sleep. Have a big day ahead of you tomorrow.
Ginny walked into the blackness. She lay down. She couldn't see anything. She closed her eyes. She couldn't see anything. She lay there and closed her eyes. She dreamed. She dreamed of a beautiful princess. She was sitting in a soft nest of down. She wore a long white gown. A soft wind blew through the trees. The leaves danced in the sunlight. There's a gentle rustling in the leaves. The princess looked up and saw a great blue bird flying through the branches. The bird was singing. Its song was soft and sweet. Someday, the bird will fly away. The bird will sing across the world. But until that day comes, the bird will sit there and sing for her. The bird flew closer and sang for the princess. The bird flew away. When Ginny woke up, she was in a soft bed. She was in a castle. She sat up. The sheets were soft. She looked around. The walls were made of blue bricks. There were windows everywhere. She looked outside. There was a great lawn. There were many pretty flowers on it. The Nightmare King appeared. The Nightmare King said,
You're a nightmare princess.
The Nightmare King was a black shape. Ginny looked at the Nightmare King. It was the same thing. Ginny asked,
Are you the nightmare king?
Ow!
Then why didn't you kill me?
I want to show you what you face in the nightmare realm. I want you to know what's coming.
What is coming?
The end of the nightmare realm. You will know what happens. There will be a nightmare realm will be destroyed. Your world will be changed. Your life will be changed.
I don't care. I'm going to live as long as I can.
You will know what happens. You will know when it's too late. You will live every second of your life in terror will memory. That is the nightmare realm.
Ginny stood up. She said,
I don't fear the nightmare realm.
Then you will certainly fall. You will be caught in the explosion. You will die. That is the nightmare realm.
I don't fear death.
Then you are as foolish as Fluttershy. You will destroy the nightmare realm. It will kill you.
I'm Jenny.
The Nightmare King said,
Then prove it.
Ginny said,
How?
The Nightmare King said,
Die.
Will you let me test in my fears?
No.
Why not?
The Nightmare King said,
You know, and after you have scared me from you, the Nightmare Princess, you have defeated my greatest weapon, now shall die.
Ginny jumped out of bed. The Nightmare King said,
Jenny, stop! You must stop. You will destroy all of us.
Ginny said,
I must end my fears. I will leave, but I will have my memories. When I awaken, I will be me again. I will still be here. I will fight you. I will do everything I can to defeat you.
The Nightmare King said,
Everything is in her favor. It will destroy us. She will kill everyone in the Nightmare Realm. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps you should stop her.
Stop her.
Yeah, I agree. Consider you, your brother, your stepsister, and all the other Nightmare Realm residents, and all the other candidates. We can if you would, we can all just stop her, please. I need you to not see that is the only way.
Stop you.
Ginny asked.
What were you so afraid of?
Of course you don't believe me. I would be foolish to accept otherwise. You must stop the Nightmare Princess. Her power is too great. She will destroy us all. You must do this. I mean, you are the only one who can.
I see. My mother always said that you were a coward. She said that you were afraid of everything. She said that fear was what drove you to become the King of Nightmares.
That is not so. I am a coward, but I am afraid of nothing. I am the Nightmare King. I am the Nightmare King.
Ginny said,
No, you are not.
she turned to leave. She had heard enough lies. She would stop them now.
Wait.
She said,
If you want me to stop, then you had better be prepared to give me something.
What?
the Nightmare King asked. Ginny said,
You had better give me something. Otherwise, I'll kill everyone in this room and everyone in the Nightmare Realm.
What are you implying?
the Nightmare King asked. Ginny said,
You said that you would do everything in your power to defeat me. That means you are just as much of a coward as I am. You are afraid that I will destroy the Nightmare Realm. I don't know why, but I am not afraid of you. I am not afraid of anyone. In fact, I am the Nightmare Princess. I am Jenny. I am perfect. I am the light. I am the hope. I am a goddess. You are the Nightmare King. You are the coward.
She left. She didn't want to see if he would give her an answer. She didn't want one. She went to the Nightmare Realm. The Nightmare Realm is a place of nightmares. It is ruled by the Nightmare King. The Nightmare Realm is full of terror and darkness. The Nightmare Realm is a place of eternal night. The Nightmare King is a lonely being. He thinks that he creates the Nightmare Realm. He is wrong. The Nightmare Realm was here before him. It will be here after he is gone. The Nightmare King does not rule over a great nation. The Nightmare Realm has no borders. No one can enter or leave the Nightmare Realm. The Nightmare Realm comes for them, whether they want it or not.